joining us this evening. It is, of course, the OLBG Friday Night Football Hangout with myself, Sam. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by our resident winner. Well, he's been a bit of an occasional winner recently. He's going to have to up his game this weekend, we've decided. Gio, good evening.
Hello, Sam. And less of that cheek. We had Palace last week, and that was in a short place. Where was it?
I was going to say, and I didn't really hold out much faith in dear old Palace, my team, and we successfully went and ruined Steven Gerrard's, big day out, I suppose you could say. Plenty of football this weekend. You looking forward to it?
Definitely. My own team is in amongst the thick of it, I suppose, trying to send a certain side down into the Championship, but we'll come across them, I suppose. But yeah, it should be a good one. It's been a good season, and I'll miss it.
Yes. I think what we would say is, though, next year we've got a football tournament at the end of it, European Championships. And don't worry, guys, the Premier League is back a little bit earlier because of that. You find it'll be turning up, I think, around the 7th of August we come back. So the Charity Shield will be around the weekend before that. So we're not going to be going too long without it. Obviously, all the games Sunday kick off simultaneously. Do you think that's an advantage to Hull and Newcastle in the fact that if you can get that edge over your opponent, you're going to be able to put the pressure on?
Yeah, I think a wee bit, of course. If there's an early goal somewhere, it does change the other game's rhythm, and especially the fans, especially them both being at home, I suppose, as well. If there's an early goal, the home fans of the other game's going to get a bit edgy, but it's what makes it fair, I suppose, isn't it? But it gives us, the viewer, a bit more entertainment. You know, you've got the red button on Sky these days, so you can watch both games as well if you weren't in between them, so it should be a good one. Yes,
I know, I can't wait. I think it's a shame Sunderland aren't still involved, because it would have added that added drama, but they did really well midweek. Quick note to say congratulations to them and Dick Advocat, who's come in and done an okay job, to be fair.
Yeah, that's it. He's done okay, but as we'll touch on it, the Sunderland game later, you know, they've done quite well, actually. I was quite surprised looking at the results since he's come in, and I've got some stats that are quite good for the Chelsea-Sunderland game, but the $500,000 bonus makes it slightly easier, though, doesn't it?
Well, you know, that's what the Premier League's worth these days, Gio, and if he's kept them up by hook or by crook, you know, he's going to be a happy man. I would say that's a team I would expect to see an awful lot of change over the summer. I think they're still recovering from the rocky time when Gus Poyet brought in an awful lot of very average players. Then before that, you had Paolo Di Canio bringing in some very average Italian players, and there's still a few festering. So you think wholesale changes over the summer?
Probably. There's probably been a few players there that's probably disappointed him, although he's done okay there. There's probably one or two players he's probably looking at thinking they could have done a bit more. But they are due to sign one of their players for €11 million now, aren't they? Because they avoided relegation. I can't remember his name for the life of me. Vicky.
Yes. I think it's yes, I know the chap you mean, but he'll be a good addition. But we shall see how Sunderland get on next year, and that'll all be covered in our anti-post previews we'll be doing for all the leagues. So keep your eyes peeled this summer. Don't panic. We're not going anywhere. There's loads of different sport on we'll cover, but we will be back pretty quickly to be talking about all things football, and there may be a Champions League final preview as well, which we're all really excited about, as are our OGB members. Now, first game we're going to talk about is one I think that I'm going to be backing for a little bit of an upset. Arsenal at home to West Brom. Gio, I'll let you lead on this one.
Yeah, before the show, we obviously speak very briefly. You said you were going for the like I said, the double chance, but I'm just going for the draw on this one at 17-4. West Brom have got 2 clean sheets in their last 3 aways, and they're unbeaten in 5 with 3 wins and 4. The last 5 games they've had 4 clean sheets, and I actually think 14-1 for no goal scorer appeals on this one. It is a bit risky because your bet could be over within minutes, but Arsenal haven't scored in the last 3 at home, and that's very poor, isn't it?
I'd say so. I think 2009 February, off the top of my head, when I was reading through all the stats this morning, it's the last time Arsenal have gone that long without scoring at home. And the natives will be restless. You know, Arsenal fans, for whatever reason, some are very pro-Wenger, some are very anti. If it gets to half-time at 0-0, there's going to be some unhappy Gunners out there. I like the 2-1 about West Brom will draw. I like that because I can't see there being too many goals, but at the same time, both teams can pop up and score. We saw West Brom pick up 3 goals midweek against a depleted Chelsea, playing with 10 men for the majority of the game after Fabregas had his moment of madness, which Gio is smiling about. But it's a good job they had the title wrapped up, because I can't see that it would have gone down as well with Mr. Mourinho had they not. My other thinking is West Brom are extremely potent at set plays. I think they've scored 14 goals from free kicks or corners this season, the most in the league. Apart from Mertesacker, would Arsenal's lack of height be a bit of a concern at defending some of these West Brom set pieces, if you like?
Definitely. I think Tony Pulis will be looking at that, won't he? He'll be saying, hey, let's make sure. They'll probably be looking at blocking off Mertesacker as well, trying to get someone to stop him running and chasing his man in. But as we're talking about the lack of goals, the last 4 head-to-heads have been under 2.5 goals as well. Adding to the fact it's a bit of a dead rubber as well. But yeah, I think the set piece will be a good one. It makes Chris Brunt look good, doesn't it, in the stats? If you look at the stats, you think he's had an amazing season.
Yeah, between him and I think James Morrison, there must be the two that take a lot of those free kicks and things. But so Berahino, obviously got the same agent as Raheem Sterling. Where will he be? Do you think he's going to be one of the ones that will be leaving this summer to pastures new?
Berahino or just Sterling?
Well, either. I'll let you take a pick up on either.
Berahino, I think it depends on the under 21 Euro Championships. I think if he does well out there, then it might spark a wee interest in him.
I thought he would be an excellent addition to a Chelsea team that will need at least one striker to replace Drogba. He's completely different, but you've got Diego Costa that's going to be their leading man, but there's no way he'll play 40 games a season, not with his injury issues and age. So I was thinking I could see him fitting into that Chelsea team really well. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up. We'll touch on Sterling a little bit later on. It's been a really hot topic on all the discussion forums that we host, our Google Plus page, our Facebook page, Twitter. You guys can get those questions into us if you want to submit anything for our attention, to ask us what we think about that particular issue. We'll cover it anyway, but it's great to get your views. You can tweet them in or submit a question using the question box. So just to finish up on the Arsenal-West Brom game, I'm going to go for 2-1 West Brom or draw. Gio, what do you fancy?
Draw 17-4 or 0-0 at 14-1, but I've also got Whopper over treble, which I'll do at the very end of the show.
Okay, is this going to be to pay for your summer holidays then, Gio, at the end of the show?
Well, I'm hoping Newcastle do that, but again, we'll cover that in the Newcastle game.
Yes, we'll come closer to that a little bit later on. So we move on to the other FA Cup finalists. Now, Arsenal are going to be struggling for players a little bit, because Danny Welbeck's out and may miss the final. Villa, I'll put you in Tim Sherwood's shoes. You got absolutely annihilated last weekend by Southampton. You've got a cup final in 6 days, club's first in a very long time. What do you do against a game you don't need points from? Do you rest the players, or do you say, right, I want to play my starting 11 for the cup final, get a good result under our belt and a better performance to banish that 6-1? I don't want them going into a cup final on the back of that.
Right, the latter. I'd also be telling the players when they do go out that if they don't perform today, then their places are up for grabs. They don't have the biggest squad, Villa, and I think that's what let Lambert down. But the 6-1 game last week, I watched that, and I know you did as well. I don't think it was really a 6-1 game. I don't think Villa were that dreadful. It was just individual errors, and it was just a bit of carelessness. They conceded 5 in the first half. It's just, how often does Shea Given get beat from 35 yards like that when Shane Long scored? And it's not.
Every shot was everything that could have gone wrong for Villa did go wrong, and every shot that was taken went in. And I guess the Premiership will produce that, because you only need somebody to have an off day, and then you're going to get punished for it. My concern would be, I honestly think Villa have got a huge chance in this cup final. I think if they play to their strengths, they can do it. But I would be tempted to get a little bit more rest into Benteke, personally. He has been on fire this season, and I just would, if they don't have him in their side, I would fear their chances of really getting goals against Arsenal. I think he's essential. And if he doesn't play, that's why I wrote that this game for me is a bit of a no-bet. I wouldn't really be touching it. I think he's going to be key, wouldn't you?
Definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if he started. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come off at half-time or thereabouts, because, like you said, he is our main man. I've borne the horse back. I like him, actually. I'm a big fan of Born the Horse, but they don't have much after that, do they? They don't really have any other strikers. And he's probably the one player Arsenal's going to be worried about. But again, if we talk about the transfer window, he's been linked with Chelsea now and Liverpool. So the one bet I'm going to go for in this game actually is Cleverly at any time at 5-1. I think that's quite a big price. He scored 3 in his last 4. Obviously, didn't score last week, but he's a different player under Tim Sherwood, isn't he?
I think Tim Sherwood, the one thing, no matter whether you like him for his attitude, his gilet, his bad banter, whatever you want to call it, I think the one thing you can say is he gets players, puts an arm around them, and genuinely gets them playing well. We saw it with Adebayor, we saw it with Benteke. I mean, I would love him to be in the coaching staff at my club just to cope with those problem players that we know exist. You know, he'd be the sort of man that would probably get Sterling playing well, scoring goals, and a big transfer fee for him at the end of next season. So, you know, credit where credit's due to Sherwood, and I'd like to see him win the cup. And do you know what? I've got a lot of Arsenal supporting friends and viewers on here that won't like that, the fact that I want Villa to win, but I honestly think they can. And to my mind, Arsenal have got to go and prove themselves. This isn't going to be a walkover. They nearly lost to Hull the year before, and I think this Villa team are better than Hull were last year.
Yeah, definitely. But I think I'll be back in Villa to lift the cup as well. There's just something about it, but I think they raised their game at Wembley against Liverpool, Aston Villa. I think they really went up a gear that we haven't seen from them for a long time, actually. I was really impressed with them against Liverpool. But also, if Villa win today, on Sunday, they can jump up 2 spots to 14. Now, it doesn't sound much. It's probably worth over £1 million in terms of revenue, and you would like to think it would get thrown into your transfer budget as well.
Well, if I'm Tim Sherwood, I need every penny I get because they can't sell the club. The owner's made it clear that he's not pumping millions in anymore, and it's as it is. So we better touch on them. Burnley, obviously down. Hopefully they'll be bouncing back. Sean Dyche won't be losing his job. He's worked hard with what he's had, but it is going to be tough with Danny Ings leaving. Stephen Reid retires. He's going to feature in this game, hopefully. I expect a couple of their players may move on, but he should keep the nucleus of that squad together, shouldn't he?
Yeah, I think most of them would be, but I was saying this to someone earlier. It's more about Hull and Newcastle. When teams go down, obviously the teams coming up, and teams around the bottom look at the 3 relegated teams to see who they can pick up for a bargain. There's not much out of that Burnley team you would take, though, is there? If you maybe look at Beacon if you need a keeper. Trippier, I think, is leaving. I think he's away somewhere. There's quite a queue of clubs looking at him for the right back position, but there's not much else. But Burnley managed when they got rid of Austin, when he went to QPR. They still survived, and I think they'll survive without Ings as well. When one door closes, another one opens, and
I think the one word I associate with that club is stability. I don't think they'll be allowed to spend big in the summer to get back up. He'll be given probably just as much money as he had in the Premier League, which is probably about £10 million, including the wages, and he'll make do amend. And that's why I don't think they'll bounce straight back up. I think they might be playoff contenders next year, but I won't be backing them without Danny Ings to be winning that league. Personally, I don't think they're a value bet. But I'll opt for a Villa win, but it's tentative, and I won't be backing the game. But you're going to have your bet on Cleverly.
Yeah, Cleverly at 5-1. I think I'd be going for Villa as well. I mean, Burnley failed to score again last week. They were at home to Stoke, and again they failed to score. So you can't see anything but Villa. But, you want to be going in there for a couple of momentum, don't you? Even if you rest players, you still want to win. But yeah, Villa at 11-10 is quite a nice price, but Cleverly at 5-1 is my main bet for this game.
Absolutely fine. So we roll on to the champions. Love them, hate them, call them what you want. Don't like the way they play football. They are the best team in the country. They've won the championship. Your view on Chelsea as champions, just very quickly?
I think they're lucky the other title contenders have been a bit of a letdown, to be honest. But they know how to get the job done.
I describe it as a classic Mourinho title. He's won it with efficiency, and I don't think he's ever really been stretched. The only time I can really think that went wrong for him this season was when he went out the Champions League, as he did, and the FA Cup. The actual league, he's been really consistent all the way through, and that's the sign of champions. I'm not a huge fan of the way. I'm not a huge fan of the way they play, but he does the job, and they've got an efficient team. And you know what? Hats off to him. We can moan about Man City, Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool for not keeping up, but they've set a pace that means they can't. This game, it's a shame because it was going to be quite close, I'd imagine. Sunderland, if they've had any sense, will have gone out and enjoyed themselves after securing their future. They're a big price, and Chelsea are without Eden Hazard, we understand. He's had an operation on a tooth and probably won't be risked. Gio, can you see past the host? I mean, the OLBG app is telling me that every man and his dog is saying to Chelsea win. Are we right to be so confident?
Not for me. You would like to think so. The last time they won the league title, they won 8-0 in the last home game, and that was against Wigan. They absolutely smashed Wigan. But then you look at the results before that, I think they scored 7 in 2 games in the month before that as well. But Chelsea have only scored 1. In the last 8 games at home, they've only scored more than 1 once. So in 7 of the games, they've only scored 1. Includes great teams like Stoke and that, so it's not very. Doesn't really whet my appetite. 4-11 is a tiny price, I think, for that.
No, I can see you. It's not going to make you rich. It'll be in everyone's end of season accumulators, I suspect. And I do think. I wonder if Mourinho will let the handbrake off a bit, but I don't think he's necessarily had the players to do that. I expect Drogba will get his final ever start at home, and he's looked pretty woeful, so he'll be shooting from anywhere to get a final goal. I suppose the strength in depth is there. I expect he will blood Loftus-Cheek again. He's a player to watch. He's going to be good for the next year. Matic might actually get 90 minutes for once. And obviously no Fabregas after his antics midweek. So you are going to see a slightly rested Chelsea. But let's be honest, Sunderland, they weren't all out on their feet, but they would have been focused so hard on that game. No one's going to forgive them if they go and get battered 4-0. No one's going to mind, Their fans are going to be in party mode. In fact, I'd probably say it'd be one of the best atmospheres you're going to get all around the grounds. There's no tension there. Everyone's going to be happy, and it's going to be good fun. On the issue of staying up, I just had a question in. Which of Watford and Bournemouth would you say the best chance of staying in the league next season? Will they both stay up or join each other in the drop? If you had to pick one to stay up, Gio, who stays up for you at the moment?
Watford. I just think there's goals in that team, but I know Bournemouth have got a wealthy owner, but financial fair play comes into a point. There's a point where that's going to come in and shackle.
QPR had a wealthy owner and things don't work out. Reading had a very wealthy owner when they came up. I think Bournemouth will get punished for the way they play football, and that sounds mean, but in the same way, if you cannot adapt your game, you have to look at teams like Crystal Palace when they stayed up under Pulis. It wasn't necessarily pretty all the time, but they made do. They chose that they were going to play a target man and a quick man. They chose that they were going to play from set plays, much like Pulis did at West Brom. I don't think their manager is going to be willing to sacrifice his footballing principles, which is a shame, because I think it could do him out of a job by Christmas.
I don't know, I like Eddie Howe. I hope he does stick to his attacking football, actually. I want to see that, but only I think they'll be worth backing for a while, because if you remember Hull and Blackpool, when they came up, they kept prices. They shot up, nice big prices, but then once everybody found out about them and they knew who they were, they went on a horrible run and plummeted right down. They both just avoided relegation, I wouldn't be surprised if Bournemouth have a season a bit like that.
Yeah, I'd love to see them have an Ipswich season where they end up, Marcus Stewart won the Golden Boot and ended up in Europe. That's how I remember Ipswich fans. But, yeah, I do think it's going to be really difficult. And the money comes into it. Bournemouth may have a wealthy owner, but does that mean he can go and sign 11 Premiership players? Burnley, frankly, over the summer signed no Premiership players. They brought up a very successful squad and they've gone back down. QPR did the opposite. They've struggled to stay up there a couple of seasons. They've opened the checkbook every year and gone down. So, for me, it's about finding that balance. If they can get their right targets, players like Ricky Lambert would suit them down to a T, I think. He can play with the ball as well as be a target man. They'll do okay, but it will be interesting to see. I'd like to see one of them stay up, because I think you don't want to see a league where it's just getting more. We get league within leagues in the Premier League, and the last thing I want to see is 4 teams struggling. I like the fact Newcastle and Hull, who were established Premier League teams, especially Newcastle, I like seeing get sucked in. I think they deserve to. So for me, it'd be good to see. So you're going to take on Chelsea? You're going to lay them? Are you going to back Sunderland, or are you just going to leave it alone?
Well, the under 2.5 goals is 13-10. That's the one I like. It's quite a big price, that, because Sunderland, under Dick Advocaat, Sunderland have only conceded two goals away from home in 4 games. And in the 8 games he's been in charge, they've only conceded 7. but 4 of them were against Palace, so essentially it's 3 in 7 games. They don't concede much under Advocat, so I'll take that under 2.5.
And I know they're safe now, but he's not going to suddenly reinvent the wheel and go, right, we're going to play 4-3-3. He just won't. It won't make sense. And I want to give a bit of credit to Jermaine Defoe. I've watched a lot of this season, so I've backed him quite a lot of the time to score first for them. He's not done it a lot, but boy, has he worked hard for that team. And I was a bit surprised. I thought it was a bit of a money transfer, but he has really put the shift in, playing in positions he wouldn't normally play. And big credit needs to go to him, I think, in that team. He's definitely showed his experience in the league and shows what a good Premier League striker can do, is that's to adapt and work hard for the team. I'll go along with the OLBG members on the app that I think we're around the 88% mark. Chelsea win. Boring. I won't go -1 because, like you say, they don't score many. But Chelsea really should be winning that. Now, next up is my team, Crystal Palace at home to Swansea. I wrote that these were arguably the teams that probably, I think, are up there with the overachievers this year. Southampton are above them for that. But these two have really, really shone, I think, in the Premier League and shown that you can go away to teams and, their 2 most recent wins away, you look at it, Swansea, who beat Arsenal, and Wenger threw his toys out the pram, and Palace, who went and put 3 goals past, an average Liverpool team, but still, to go to Anfield on that day and do it, I think they've been shining stars this year, Gio.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching both of these. I suppose when you speak about Manager of the Year, both of these managers pop up in everyone's head, certainly in the top 5 of everyone, I think. But they play good football as well. It's not just the fact they're getting results, they play nice stuff. Swansea play that possession game, but they also adapt, like away to Arsenal, they adapted the game, just thought, we'll just soak it up, half time, stick on the striker and try and get the goal, and it worked. Like I said about Palace, I know it's all about your away form this season, but they're a joy to watch when they're in full flow.
We just need to get a proper pitch at home, and if anyone at Crystal Palace is watching, please give the ground staff some more money, because the players hate it. We put a picture up earlier in the week, and I think we'd be 5th in the league on away form only, and we're about 19th on home form. It's a difficult place to play. The pitch just cuts up. And when you've got exciting talent like Yannick Bolasie, Wilfried Zaha, Jason Puncheon, who I'm biased, but I felt was unlucky to possibly miss out on that England squad this week. So it's going to be a good game, entertaining football. Swansea have a little bit to play for, I think, with regards to pride and position. Palace will just want to get that bit higher up the table. Would you pick an outright winner of this tie, though?
I've gone for Swansea purely with Palace's poor home form. And I think it's just, I'm maybe a bit biased though, because if there's a team, you tend to have a second favourite team that you like watching if you like in the league, and Swansea's probably mine. I do like watching Swansea, but I think this game screams goals at me. I really do. There's not that much stats really to back up. They've both been involved with some low scorers recently, but Ladbrokes have got a special on for the highest scoring match of the day, and it's 10-1 for this game to have the most goals, and I think that's massive. I think that's a huge price considering. Are they
not a set price across the board then? They're all individually priced?
Yeah, all games are individually priced, and they're like maybe the 3rd least favourites, so they're like the 7th price. So
I mean, the only thing I could see sort of scuppering your bet there would be if there's an early red card for a defender or a goalkeeper in any of the that'd certainly be an interesting one though. We shall see what happens there, Gio. I liked over 2.5 goals in that game. I thought it was quite a basic bet, but at 5-6 I think that was with Betfair. 5-6 seemed quite a good bet for over 2.5. Your view on that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I went one bigger than you at over 3.5 at 21-10. But Swansea to win and both teams to score 5-1, and I thought that was absolutely massive. But I think Swansea may be my treble. I'll come back to that big treble at the end, but I think they might be in it as well.
Well, Gio is obviously going to take me on and see if I can obviously lose, because as a Palace fan, can I back them in this game? Not with money, I can't, just my heart. So I'll be going for over 2.5 goals. Well, Gio, we must move on to the next game. And, at this stage, we're starting to think, where are the key games coming from? This one definitely isn't one in my book. Everton taking on Tottenham.
No, a bit of a bore, isn't it? Unless you support one of these teams, I can't imagine there being much interest in it at all. Even as a punter, it's quite hard. Everton look quite tempting at 7-5, but I think it's one of those I think I'm going to completely avoid on Sunday.
I don't blame you. I think that's possibly the best thing you can do in the circumstances is to avoid it. It's going to be treated like a testimonial by the sounds of it. Roberto Martinez said he wouldn't play Distan. The board have come out and asked him to, I think, by the sounds of the local press up there. You know, he hasn't played since January, so he's not been good enough for the team then. You've then got also the fact that Brad Friedel might be playing. You know, I'm sat here thinking, you know, is it going to be treated like a proper league game?
Probably not. I mean, I know Spurs can still qualify for the Europa, but I think it was expecting Arsenal to win the FA Cup and therefore Tottenham, Southampton and Liverpool all getting Europe anyway. But I don't know. It's hard to pick a bet. If I was pushed, I'd say 1-0 Everton. 10-1's quite a big price actually, but I'm expecting Arlen Lennon to be quite a good player. I think he was okay against West Ham last weekend.
He can't play.
Oh yeah, he's played Tottenham, is he?
Yep. So this is my theory on it, that I think it's going to be a little bit different.
What's your odds checker for? That's misleading.
You'll have to make a complaint to them, unfortunately, on that one, Gio. Yeah, it's one of those. I'm not 100% sure which way it'll go. I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole myself. I think one of those games, it'll be last on match of the day, I expect, and there'll be a nice little clip of both retiring players having a guard of honour or something.
Yeah.
It's not one I can get excited about. Unlike our next game, which you are going to be most interested in. Talk me through your view of Hull versus Man United.
Well, this is, you're going to have to pin your logs back because this could sound complicated, but just try to do your best to follow, guys. Nice
and slowly for us then, Gio, and you can produce the science for us as to what you think will happen.
Back in 2009 in May, Hull, Newcastle, Middlesbrough and Sunderland could all go down in the last day. Hull played Man U and got beat 1-0. Newcastle played Aston Villa, got beat 1-0. Middlesbrough played West Ham. West Ham won. And Sunderland played Chelsea. So the teams they're all playing are, again, well, the Hull Man U one's exactly the same. Chelsea are playing Sunderland again this weekend, and West Ham are involved in it again. The stats are stacked firmly against Hull, though, aren't they? They've never won in main County League. Steve Bruce, 21 games against Man U and just 4 points.
You are not a Steve Bruce fan, then?
Well, I don't actually mind him, but just the stats are just shocking for this game, isn't it? I really want them to do it, though. I'm biased. I'd like Newcastle to go down at 200-1, and I've resisted cashing it in at all. It's only £1, but I'm going to be sitting there cheering on Hull City. What
are you going to do in play if it suddenly goes your way?
I'm just going to let it run. It's only £1, isn't it?
You're going to let it run. You're going to let it run. Might pay for that holiday. Interesting thoughts on this game. I was considering with regards to Manchester United, just the fact that you yourself said to me that maybe they're not going to be so up for it. We spoke off air. I kind of disagree a bit. I know we've had some fun this week with Van Gaal, looking like he'd had a few too many glasses of red wine. There's some brilliant clips. I mean, they'll be forever on the internet, those clips. But he's going to bring Rooney back into the squad to play, he thinks. He says he seems quite a fair man in the sense that he doesn't want to just put a team of 11 youngsters out to get beat to help Steve Bruce. I actually thought the price on Man United was quite tempting at 13-10 away because Hull have got the pressure on them. They could be banging on that door. Man United can soak up all the pressure they want and hit them on the break, and they've got pace in that team. Are you not a little bit fearful that you think Man United might come out the traps, get the early goal and kill it?
Definitely. I think this is obviously bar the dead rubber ones like from Tottenham. I'm finding it really difficult to call this game. Usually you get a gut feeling, don't you? But I'm not getting one for this one. But if I had to do a bet, it'd probably be Hull to win by a goal at 92 because football's fairy tale sometimes, isn't it? And this would be a fairy tale.
Well, I don't know. I know Wayne Rooney looks like Shrek, but I don't think this is going to be a fairy tale. I think you're going to find that United will win 2 or 3-0, and it could be over by half time. Sky and the other football press are trying to hype up this. I just don't see it. Man United are not a brilliant team this year, but I don't think they'll want to go out without a win.
But do you not think Hull have just been unlucky this last couple of weeks? I know they got beat by Tottenham and Burnley, but they did everything but scored in those games, didn't they?
I did watch the full game of the Spurs game, and it was quite horrendous. I felt for any Hull fan because they created plenty. But they still don't have that striker to score 20 goals a season, and it shows so badly. They were the better team for 50 minutes, and then Spurs went and nicked it. If Spurs, with nothing really to play for, doing that to you, I don't see where the fight's going to come from. They're a bit of a divided club with everything as well, and I'd be really hopeful that Man United, for the sake of the league, listen, Hull are the worst team out of the two. Let's make no mistake about it. If you did a combined 11, it would be more Newcastle players than Hull by a country mile. Newcastle are just about surviving, and if they let it slip and Hull win, Newcastle deserve to go down. But at the moment, on paper, Hull are the worst team out of the two.
Definitely. I think, like we're talking about, you look for a bargain from teams going down. I don't think there's going to be much Hull players wanted next season, and I think that could actually do them good if they go down in terms of coming back up. I can't see many of their players leaving in the summer.
I think a lot will depend on their chairman as well, who, let's be honest, well, he is a little bit towards the point where he could do anything with that club. He could go and sell it for £1 because he's not allowed to change the name or whatever. And there is a chance that Steve Bruce could get relegated with them and end up going to sit in the seat at Newcastle, which seems absurd. And if you're a Newcastle fan, how you'd want him to manage your club, I don't know. But local boy does good.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see. But I'm going to go. I think Hull are going to nick this. I really do. But then again, please be aware I have that bet on Newcastle go down, so probably is a bit of bias, and I've probably got my bias specs on. But I think Hull's going to nick it.
Yeah, I mean, I said lay the draw. I felt because it's going to either be Hull will get that win, or United will steamroller them, and it could be all over pretty quickly. Which team does the Premiership need more? I would be saying Newcastle every day of the week. I think they've still got a global fan base from the early 90s. I like them as a team. I think their fans are hilarious. They could do with less moaning. I mean, I believe there's going to be a protest after the game this weekend about Mike Ashley going to have an Occupy St James's Park. I'll be honest, if they stay up, they'll be running on the pitch celebrating as if they won a cup final. They'll let off the steam that way. I don't think that will materialise into being too much, but we shall see. I'll be backing Man United with the rest of the OLBG members, I must say. They're very popular on the app. So you're on your own on this one a little bit, Gio.
A lot of games today, haven't I?
But that shouldn't always scare you. We'll move on to one of our favourite teams since we've started doing this particular hangout, is Leicester and QPR.
It's probably our two favourite teams, isn't it? We've been backing one and opposing another all along, and
Not been bad.
We very cleverly switched last week with QPR, and we thought they would beat Newcastle. So I think we've been pretty spot on with these two all the way through, and we're agreeing on this one. So maybe we've got these two nailed on. But Leicester 1 defeat in 8, 6 wins, 1 4-5 at home, and only Chelsea have beat them, and they've scored first in all 5 games. So it's hard to see past a Leicester win, isn't it?
I think the biggest problem that faces QPR is there's so much uncertainty. If you're a young player in that team, you won't know if you're going to get a chance next year. If you're an old player in that team with a contract expiring, you know you're probably going to get flogged, or you're going to get no renewal of your contract, so they won't be able to afford it. My fear will be the fact that they seem to have no real... I don't know. They were okay against Newcastle, but Newcastle did throw it away. And I just think Leicester, they're at home. The board have gone and bought every single Leicester fan a pint, which I think is a lovely incentive. You know, very rare you get anything back in football these days. And it's going to have a real feel-good atmosphere. And I think Nigel Pearson will be wanting to really push his chest out and beat it and show the league a little bit. You know, really put the boot into QPR. Chris Ramsey's got 3 years there now. He isn't going to be worrying about this game. You know,
I agree with that. I think he's going to be looking at next season, is he? I think he's got his contract. He's happy. But to be fair to QPR, they scored before they got beat 6-0 at City last week. They've scored in their last 10 away games, and Leicester do concede quite a bit.
Yeah, I would love personally to see. I think Leicester deserve the win. QPR, it makes no difference to them. Yeah, I think you could see a Joey Barton losing the plot kind of thing. And at 8-13, they're in my accumulator, and they're in most of the OLBG members' ACCA. So I think that does us for Leicester. But just to say, another manager that deserves a mention, manager of the year.
Definitely. I think at Christmas, if you asked everyone if Leicester was gone, say about 75% of people that watch Premier League every week, like I think 75% of people would probably say yeah.
I completely agree as well. I think when I look back over it, you've got, I think there was an £18,000 bet taken by William Hill on Leicester to go down 2-5.
He not mad, is it?
If you've got £18,000 you're putting a bet on, don't do it on a relegation in the Premier League, because they are the most uncertain things in the world. Anything can happen. So for me, that was a poor bet from that gentleman. But yeah, excellent. Well, we'll wrap up on one manager that should be staying to one that will be going. Man City versus Southampton. Pellegrini.
It's a hard one. I all thought he was going. I was convinced he was going, but his side have hit form recently in the last few games, and they're scoring goals. And I do wonder, maybe they're thinking, looking around, wondering who's out there. If Ancelotti goes at Real Madrid, the pressure will be cramped up immensely on him. But there's not that much alternatives out there, is there?
I mean, in my head, I always look at who would want a job, who needs a job, and the risks associated to that job with your career. Jurgen Klopp taking the Man City job wouldn't make sense to me, because he's done well on working on slightly tighter budgets and producing footballing teams with footballing players. I don't think he'd enjoy playing with millionaires that, frankly, he wouldn't want players of Yaya Touré's attitude. You look at the fans and the players that he's been managing at Dortmund, they give everything to the cause. I think he'd be better at an Arsenal as well. I think that might be the job he'd hold out for in the Premier League. So for me, do you stick or twist? Pellegrini's won them the league, let's not forget. He hasn't done Champions League, but then no one else has for City, and they're still in their infancy. They've had tough draws. Would you give him one more year?
Well, I think they will. I think they're looking at Pep from Bayern Munich, and he's got one more year left in Munich, has he? So there was all that talk that they signed him on a contract. So I wonder if there's a gentleman's agreement that he'll join City next summer once his contract at Munich's up. So I do wonder if they'll just keep him on for that 1 year.
I have a funny feeling with Pep Guardiola that he might not see out the full contract there. I have a hunch that the Barcelona defeat, whilst expected, was definitely disappointing. He's lost a few games in the league and the cup, and I don't know what the minimum remit is for a Bayern Munich manager, but I suspect it's getting to the final of the Champions League. Unlucky or not to lose to the potential winners, which we think they'll be. I just think he's not cut the mustard as much as we'd expect. So, be interesting. He came with a high reputation. I think a Man City job could finish him. I really do. I don't think it's a safe job. There's a lot of pressure, and if you're given a blank check, it's hard. You only have to look at PSG. Money's not brought them success.
Yeah, we'll wait and see, I suppose. But he's never really had a hard job yet, has he? Like you said, I mean, probably the average manager could probably have done quite well with that Barcelona side he had. With Iniesta and Xavi at their peak. I think.
Well, I think this year has shown that with regards to Barcelona. Have changed manager. They were struggling in January and they've still won the league, so they can pull it out of the bag. We'll see. We'll touch more on La Liga next season, actually. It's something we're going to develop a little bit more for you guys out there, because I know Spanish football is incredibly popular. But on this particular game, Gio, Man City, Southampton, just a quick line on the game.
Well, the only bet I'm doing is Mane any time at 92. If anyone on Sunday's buzzing, it's him. And I think his pace and coming in from the wide position, I think it's City's weak point. So I do like the look at that. But as for the result, I'm not going to even try and call it.
No, for me, it's one of those that it could go either way. You wouldn't be amazed if Southampton went and won the game, and a few of our members have said that on the app. But Man City is getting the overwhelming vote, and at 3-5, you might put me in a small accumulator, but I wouldn't be getting too excited. And I don't think there'll be any eyes on it, which would be sad for City, because they like their last day drama. We think further back to the times they've been relegated, but obviously the Aguero goal recently, that kind of thing. And no one will have any interest in them. So maybe they'll want to put a score out to show that they're still there. Yaya Touré's last game as well, maybe. And Frank Lampard's, of course. Premier League legend. As a West Ham fan, do you have any time for him?
Yeah. I know he's hated quite a bit, but I think I would do the same if my dad and my uncle was sacked by the club. I think I'd also leave. So, but to be fair to him, like you say, he's a Premier League legend, though he's been one of the best around in the business. I don't think it matters too much to City fans about him leaving, does it? I think Yaya's probably done a hell of a lot more for City. But I don't think him leaving's a bad thing. I think it's probably what they need to get rid of Yaya Toure.
I like Yaya Toure immensely. One of the members, the best comment I've ever read about him is when he decides to win a game, he will. And the best testament of that was the Swansea game, I thought. He basically went, I quite fancy scoring a goal here, and made it look like a man playing child's football. It was bizarre. But to get him into that mode, I've seen him do it for one season. And to be a top-class player, you've got to do it week in, week out. And he just hasn't done it.
No, I agree. But I also think if Barcelona let you go, I always think there should be an alarm bell. They didn't really hang on. They didn't really seem too fussed about letting him leave in the first place, did they? But he's done really well at City, though. He has been one of the best ever players I've seen in the Premier League, though, when he was at his best.
Definitely, and I think we'll be poorer for not having him when he's on his game. But at the same time, I get bored of hearing stories about players wanting to leave because they didn't get a birthday cake. I think the world will be a better place without them. The next game we come on to is going to be yours, Gio, to cover, really. Newcastle, West Ham. Shoot from the hip here. Don't pull any punches. Come on, your players are on a holiday, aren't they? They're at the darts on Thursday, enjoying themselves. Probably thinking about which Vegas hotel they're staying in next week. I
don't see the problem with that. I know Hull fans are making an issue that the team had the whole week off training, but it's not West Ham's fault you're sitting 18th after 37 games. We've got we'll go to Newcastle and they need us to win, but there's no pressure on us to do that. But I think having a week off could be a good thing. Like you said, they were at the darts, they were having a good time, but that'll draw the team together. The players that were at the darts were kind of Sam Allardyce's signings as well, the players that would play for Sam, and obviously he's leaving. I'm 95% certain he's going. He's not even going to he's got a meeting with the board members on Monday, and he's not even going. He's away on holiday. So I think that says it all. He's moved out his house and all that. So I don't know. I think there's a few of them that need to watch their places for next season if it looks like a new manager's coming in. And I do wonder if they might give one last performance. But I'll have your thoughts before I rally out my stats and that for this game.
I think this is a game that, stats aside, is going to be incredibly tense. I think the first goal will cause whatever the result will be to happen. I don't think it's going to be 4-5 or anything silly like that. Newcastle are going to undoubtedly be going at this. I mean, I would be amazed if there's not a red card or a real loss of heads or John Carver sent to the stands. My worry is if Newcastle don't get their first goal, they're going to have 52,000 people going absolutely ape. And I don't think they're behind the team. They could get booed onto the pitch, realistically, Newcastle. I think that's what's mad about it. They are not going to get that support, and Carver's asked for it. There's no way he's going to get it. He'll get it thrown back at him. And for me, I can't have a bet in this game because you could conceivably see Newcastle imploding and losing to a terrible West Ham team. You could quite happily see Newcastle turning up doing the business by half-time.
You could, but if there's an early goal at Hull, that place will be an absolute cauldron. I would not want to be a Newcastle player if Hull City scored an early goal. The players will know if Hull have scored, make no doubt about that. But you spoke about a red card, and you're going to like this. Martin Atkinson's our ref, and he's shown 7 red cards in the last 18 games. And the last time he refed a Newcastle game, he sent a player off. And the last time he refed the West Ham game, he sent a player off. So red card could be on the table for that. But also the other thing with Martin Atkinson here is the last 5 games with either of these sides involved, at least one side has kept a clean sheet. And that leads me on to my bets. I'd go on both teams to score no is 13-10 and unders is 5-4. Those are the 2 bets I like. But do you think Newcastle will win?
I think they'll do enough.
So what price are Newcastle? 4-5 or something?
5-6 best price that I can see at the moment.
If you think Newcastle will win and Chelsea will beat Sunderland, it's 13-10 for Newcastle to finish above Sunderland, which is the same bet. And
that's exactly why we have people like Gio on this show. There's clearly some lazy bookmakers out there that haven't spotted the fact that they've made that. Well, I wouldn't say it's an error. It's just a lazy price.
Yeah, it's just one of those that you look at the table and you think, 2 points in it. Newcastle won't finish for Sunderland, but you fancy Newcastle to win and Chelsea to beat Sunderland, then the 13-10 is your bet to take for them to finish above. But
I'm surprised at that price. I just think Newcastle will take a point. I think they really would.
Well, the thing is though, even if Newcastle draw and Hull win, Newcastle go down.
I suppose it's quite nice only having 2 permutations for once rather than having about 3 or 4 to worry about. But I'll go for a no bet in the game. But you gonna go for your hammers?
Yeah, I've got 3 bets. Well, 2 bets. Apart from the goals, West Ham to win to 0 is 10-1, which I think is huge. It's
wow.
18-1 for us to win 1-0. That's mental. I think it's like if we are going to win, it's probably going to be 1-0. I can't see us scoring 2. But the one I like is 33-1. Is our goalie Adrian to be man of match. He's been absolutely fantastic this season. To put into context, he's the first keeper to ever save 3 penalties in the league in a row. But he's 33-1 to be man of match. Now, if we're winning, Newcastle will throw the sink at us. They have to. And we're going to rely on him. And he's been fantastic. I cannot stress how good he's been this season. And I just wish that he got more recognition than he has. But a few pundits have started, when they were doing their player of the team of the season, he's been in the shortlist of the top 5 keepers, if you like. And it's good that he's getting that. I mean, Del Bosque is looking at him to take him to the Spain squad, and I think that's a massive well done to him. But 33-1 for him to be man of match is a good place, I think.
Do you worry about the fact that there's a potential goalkeeper merry-go-round that could be happening this summer? If you imagine Man United lose to Gea, then they pick up, I don't know, let's say Begovic from Stoke. Stoke are then without a keeper. Do you see that he could be moving on in the summer, especially if he's getting some international acclaim?
I don't think he'd go. He's a real fan's favourite. After every game, he goes over to the fans. He just laps up. He interacts with them on Twitter and that. And he did a question and answer earlier today, and he said the main thing in life is to be happy, and he's very happy at West Ham. But like I said, there's not a lot of attention on him this season, so I don't think he'll be included in the merry-go-round, like you said. If he has another year, then I would be worried. Yeah,
I was thinking, reflecting back on the transfers this year, I've got a funny feeling that it'll be the managers that will be moving around first, because no one's going to be buying players without the manager set there. Then it'll be the goalkeepers that will go, because I can't see Man United letting the Madrid De Gea thing rumble on. Whether Bale comes as part of that, I don't know. But I think that will be the trigger. Once we start seeing the managers go, the transfers will happen. I don't think anything will happen with Raheem Sterling just yet either. I think that'll be they might make him sweat it out. Interesting to see, which leads us nicely onto, I think there's a price wrong here, Gio. Stoke at 5-2 at home to beat Liverpool, who are 6-5 away after they got battered by my team, Crystal Palace, last week.
Yeah, we're both on this one. This is probably my nap of the weekend in terms of value anyway. But Liverpool have only got 2 points in the last 4 away games anyway, and that's when you go all the way back, they still had a slight hope of Champions League football. But 2 points in 4 away games against Stoke, who have won 4 of their last 6 at home with 1 defeat. So it's a strange price, isn't it?
I think it's wrong. I'm absolutely convinced the bookmakers got this wrong. And I must stress that the OLBG members very rarely go against favourites when it comes to football backing on the app. And we've got an overwhelming majority that are all already seeing this price and they're lapping it up. And I don't think it'll be. I think they'll make the mistake. I mean, Stoke at the moment have got 12 tips out of the 20 that are available. Most of them are on the draw apart from that. And there's only about 4 on Liverpool. That's 52% of all tips heading for Stoke. They're a mad price, surely, at home as well. It's not like Stoke are away. Yeah,
I know. I don't get it. I'll be honest. But you remember who we spoke about last week to score for Stoke?
You're going to have to remind me.
Charlie Adam.
Yes, Mr. Adam.
Against his former club, who didn't really give him that much of a chance, did he? He's 11-1 to score first, and that's my other bet of the game. I think there's one player with something between his teeth on Sunday at the time. That's him.
Funny, because I was just looking, and it's 4-1 for any time, which I always like, a little punt any time. And you can get Mr. Gerrard, who last week we put up to score. Well, I put up to score any time, and he didn't. He's around 11-4. Do you think he'll get his send off he wanted?
No. I wouldn't be surprised if he got sent off. I think he'd more likely get sent off than to score, probably. But he's been great in the Premier League. Don't get me wrong. He's a bit like Lampard. It's probably a shame that we had them at the same time throughout the Premier League. I think it caused England problems having them too. But
it would have all been fine if he would have been allowed to go and play for Chelsea, and we'd have had them in the midfield, and then England would have won 2 World Cups in the bounce because they've been used to playing together. I don't believe that for 1 second. I think the whole thing was bizarre, and they're both very good players, and I respect both of them, and I think most OLBG members do as well.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of respect for him last weekend as well, but Sky Sports really milked it in his last day, didn't they? He's still on the telly with his goodbye now, but he's one of those players. I think I bet every neutral tuned in to see his last game last week.
But I was absolutely delighted as a Crystal Palace fan because I did feel it was a little bit Liverpool mafia, media mafia, that we didn't see anything of Crystal Palace, and they duly turned up and probably showed why they've been underestimated this season by so many teams. Jason Puncham was phenomenal, and Liverpool, I'm not saying Palace are world beaters, they're a good team. But if Liverpool can get turned over like that at home, how on earth are they expected to go to... How would you back... I wouldn't back them with your money, Gio, at 6-5 to beat Stoke away.
No, not a chance. I don't think there'll be many people having Liverpool unless they're they really hate Stoke for some reason, or they're like a Liverpool diehard. But it's probably like me most weeks with West Ham and you most weeks with Crystal Palace, is it? We're just a bit biased, but Stoke at 5-2 is huge.
I would also question the fact that you've got a Liverpool team that are in bits. Gerrard's gone or going. You've got no real club legends there. Raheem Sterling's agent or whatever's happened. I'd love to get your take on this. Will he start him? Will he make him suffer on the bench and listen to the songs for 90 minutes? I mean, what would you do?
I think he'll be on the bench. I don't see why Brendan Rodgers would risk him in case something happened. Chances are it won't. But when you're playing a physical team like Stoke with players like Charlie Adam in it, you remember what he did to Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale was obviously like a global superstar at the time, if you like, and he was getting talked about Real Madrid. Charlie Adam left his mark on him quite a few games, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did the same against Sterling, but I don't know. I think the Sterling thing's a bit of a weird thing. He's not worth 50 million.
I would completely get the angle that he deserves a new deal. I just don't think he deserves... I just don't think he can treat Liverpool Football Club or any football club, come to that matter, the way he has. But he's done that now, and I suppose I'm a Liverpool fan. I'd want him gone for the highest bid. There's no point making... He's not going to rot in the reserves. That doesn't happen in modern football. But as somebody else has pointed out tonight, he's on 35,000 a week, which he feels is wrong, and wants to be on 150,000 a week and winning things. Liverpool could make him sit there and he could lose about 7 million over 2 years if that's what he thinks he'd get elsewhere. Do you think he's been advised badly?
Well, there is a bit of that in football these days. I remember it happened at West Ham with Defoe. He got advised to slap in a transfer request and get out up to Parks and got relegated. He's come out saying he was poorly advised and he apologises and all that. But I noticed on the Google Plus OLBG page that a lot of Liverpool fans not overly bothered about him going, are they? No,
he's not. And I think maybe it happens to be that the same summer they're losing their club legend Gerrard. He means something to them. I don't think they care. I think maybe that element of soul is missing.
Yeah, well, also, if Rodgers wants to rebuild the squad, he needs money, and he's got a grumpy £50 million player sitting on his hand who he's been okay this season, but he's not exactly shone that much, has he?
No, and I think that is the problem. Right, so let's round that up. So we think Stoke are going to win at 5-2. We think they're I think they're the nap of the weekend for me.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, they're the last team in my treble.
Excellent.
Stoke, West Brom, and Swansea are 95-1 with Ladbrokes. They've got a lot of specials on since the last day. And that's the one I thought had an outside chance, but 95-1 was a big price for me, so I'm happy.
Just remind us of those teams again, Gio.
West Brom, Stoke, and Swansea.
think my team, Palace, might let you down there. I think we'll pinch at least a point. A couple of questions or answers have come in. Miko70, we know quite well. He's a great OLBG member. He's got some fantastic horse racing as well as football views. He is convinced that Hull City are gone. I think that's playing the obvious one, and he says that, and I believe he's a Newcastle fan as well.
He is. He's a die-hard Newcastle fan. I speak to him when I need to about Newcastle. I had a wee conversation with him midweek about the game coming up, and I think he's more around the fact that Hull won't lose rather than Newcastle winning. Hull won't win, sorry, more than the fact that Newcastle will beat West Ham, but we'll see.
Yeah, I've got another tweet in here as well, and Prakash Garani has tweeted us to say that Hull to get relegated is top price 6-1 in some offices for new account. Easy money, definite banker. Well, like I say, you're probably only going to get about £10 on, but we think it's Hull's. It's Newcastle's to mess up, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But how often have we seen Hull sales stay up, and everybody in hindsight will go, "Oh, I've seen that coming." Always happens in football, and it's just one of those situations. But I cannot wait. Actually, I kind of wish West Ham weren't involved, because I have this bet on Newcastle to go down. I really wish they were playing someone that wasn't West Ham. But I don't know. I'm just being biased, I think.
That's fine. You're allowed to be biased on here, Gio. We let you off. Just to say, D-Max tweeted us to say that he thinks it's the wrong price, and he thinks that he got 13-5 on Stoke to beat Liverpool, and he thinks that's the wrong price. Adam Hobill tweeted to say that Stoke are a good team, and you don't want to back against them at home. When we asked why Liverpool that price when they're so bad, and I just think there's a general overview that I don't know why Liverpool are priced like that, but it just seems to be a glaring omission.
I think Stoke will shorten. I don't know how drastic they'll shorten. I think they will shorten. But you've got to remember the game was a Sunday, so this would technically be like a Thursday night, if you like. So there is value to be had going into the early market. Excellent.
Well, Gio, you can leave us with your final bets of the weekend if you just want to recap for all the members and people watching.
Probably Stoke at 5-2, but also I like my goal scorers. So Cleverly, Mane, and Charlie Adam, probably the three anytime scorers. They'd probably give you a good maybe 80-1 treble, I think.
I think we'll take that all day long. I want to thank Gio for all your contributions this season. We may be back to do a little review of the season, we think. Just a quick 30-minute snippet to assess your favourite team. Just quickly, Gio, who do you think's the manager of the year?
Gary Monk.
Gary Monk? Okay.
Yeah, I think he's overachieved. I think he's done absolutely fantastic. How many other sides would be mid-table, and then you go and take their top goal scorer out, and then they don't buy anyone, and they actually go up the league? You know, I think he's nailed it for me. I think, as we talk about West Ham getting rid of Sam Allardyce, if there's one manager I want, also it doesn't look like we're getting Benitez, but that would be my choice, actually.
Excellent. And I'll give you one thing just to think about for that. I want to know how many managers you'd put ahead of Jose Mourinho for manager of the year this season, bearing in mind who's achieved what. How many managers would you say are ahead of him in the queue?
Oh, I don't know. There'd be Monk, maybe Pardew, Coleman.
Nigel Pearson?
Yeah, I'd say those four. Are maybe ahead of him, but you know, that's not a bad thing on Mourinho. I'm not trying to say Mourinho's done bad, but that's just because it's expected of Chelsea, is it?
Let's hope Jose isn't watching this then. Otherwise, he'll be coming after you, Gio, because he's a very arrogant man. We know that, and he's very keen and proud of his success. I want to say thank you so much to yourself, Gio. Thank you everyone else for watching. Apologies that I disappeared halfway through and got replaced by a symbol, but you could still hear me, which is the main thing. And our contributor, Gio. I want to thank all of your tweets and questions you've had in. We will be back throughout the summer. You'll keep your eyes peeled. We'll cover a number of sporting events, and Gio and myself will be back to cover some football as well. Don't forget there's the Copa America this summer, which we're all really excited about, seeing Messi and co back in South America. All I may say is thank you for the season, Gio, and thank you for your thoughts.
No problem. Come on, Hull City.
And just for balance, I better say, come on, Newcastle. We shall see you soon. Have a great bank holiday weekend. Enjoy that football. Don't forget, you can rewatch this if you've missed any of it, or you can get it on the SoundCloud as well. Thank you very much.